It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Benny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
And here we are. I kind of misused the word pertinent, but today maybe it's actually works. We got pertinent Kentucky basketball news to talk about on this episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. The homie Terry Brown, myself, Vinny Hardy. What's going on, TV?
Yeah, it's a good day. Well, it's always a good day to be a Wildcat. Let's be clear about that. But today was one of those good days, and um, let's just get it all from the jump. Oscar Tshiebwe, the unanimous National Player of the Year, first consensus National Player of the Year in Kentucky Wildcat history. To quote MJ in spring of 1995, "I'm back."
Mm-hmm.
So Oscar is coming back, and that's kind of put a smile on a lot of big blue faces. So that's a good piece to have coming back. Will he be able to repeat? I don't know, but I know he's going to give us his best effort to do so, and that's important as we kind of build our team for next year.
Yeah, you heard of what does he got to prove, or can he duplicate that? Well, you know the effort's gonna be there. You know it's pencil in a double, even if it's not a repeat of the sweeping of all the awards. You can actually bank on what you're gonna have. We know about all the dominoes that's got to fall into place, and waiting on this. Who's gonna do that? Who's coming? Who's in the portal? Who are they trying to get? Well, you can look. This is a rock solid piece that fell into place today.
This is absolutely a good piece to get back because there's so many unknowns. I know Shaden Sharp is the other kind of big time piece for this off season. But getting Oscar back, because you know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Even the most hype recruits and most talented guys will take time to get, but you've got a known commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're building for next year, that's a good thing to have. Oscar coming back, leading SEC assist man, Severe Wheeler coming back. Those are pieces you can build around. Hopefully, I think Toppin and Brooks eventually come back, but they've got to go through their process and figure out what they need to work on to further themselves. But this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Oscar, I have a tough time trying to formulate or trying to think of a more beloved Kentucky Wildcat than Oscar Tshiebwe. And we've had a lot of great players. We've had a lot of great human beings and young men participate UK men's basketball. But Oscar's got to be at the top. I don't know that there's anyone better, and there's few as good as he is on and off the court. That's one of those coach isms, one of those things that the color commentator would throw out during a game, but absolutely true. And he's got those intangibles. Yeah. And it sounded as if he took that loss to St. Peter's personally, like a lot of the Big Blue Nation did. And he said he's ready to come back. That's not how he wanted to go out. And and you throw in the aspect that's important to a lot of folks, his religious aspect. Said he had prayed on it, and as a religious person myself, that's something I try to do with big decisions. Yeah. And he also said after he prayed, he talked to Mama, and just the quote he had about going to her, he knows that she's got his best interest in mind. Woo! That's we're getting close to Mother's Day now, Oscar. That you're gonna make us all look bad. But he. When he talks about he prayed and then he asked his mom, that's you can't script that any better. But I don't believe it's scripted. I just think that's how he is, and he's going to be a good representation for the Big Blue Nation again, on and off the court. Like you've seen, he's been on that Tribe Called Quest award tour
Yeah.
racking up all the awards, but he's also taking time to talk to churches and talk to youth groups. And I mean, when you think of student athlete, I know the NCAA made that up for legal reasons, but I can't think of anybody better than Oscar that I would want representing the Big Blue Nation.
Yeah, he personifies it like in every aspect. And then, to get to Kentucky where he always wanted to be, the effort and work he put in this year,
Mm-hmm.
just playing for Kentucky and happy to be playing for Kentucky. Every rebound was like his life depending on it with his family situation. You mentioned that he talked to his mom. The fact now that he was able to make it, that's all we talked about last week. Make a decision, a stress-free decision, because depending on how the financials are going to play out, you just go, well, I don't know if I'm going to get this, so I might need to. It was a bunch of stuff in flux for him, and now it's worked out financially with the NIL to where it looks like he can bring his mom to Lexington. So he was, she was across the world in the Congo last year. And it was potential for her to come had they made it in the tournament longer. That was because he talked about, if my mama's over here, I'm gonna get 50 and 30. So the motivation he already had last year, now you couple that into, I mean, Oscar with fuel in his fire.
Yeah.
Based on what we saw last year, now you throw in a first round loss to St. Peter's, and Mama T is over here in Lexington. Oh my God.
He might get that 30 for 30, and we'll have to do a documentary. I'll get it right eventually on him. Just good news. Like I said, I can't remember. You probably have to go back to. A lot of people have said the Twins coming back. Probably as far as an announcement of a Kentucky player coming back that stoked this reaction, I would have to say so because we knew Tyler Eulis was going to come back for his sophomore season. Nick Richards was more about the promise. They still, those flashes he showed as a freshman and sophomore. But as far as, okay, we got this dude, what we did, and him coming back, probably the Twins. Before that, maybe Terrence Jones.
Yeah.
But
PJ in there second year. That was
a
lot of people. As far the homie, I don't know about the reaction, but there was a lot of staying up all night, seeing what he's going to do at midnight. There was a lot of that when Gallo decided to come back.
But how cool was the announcement during Sports Center? Like that's the thing. We're back. We're Kentucky. People get tired of Cal-isms and folks. We're still that gold standard. I know the luster, maybe the shine's off a little bit, but for a player to announce he's coming back in the middle of Sports Center with that ridiculous Oscar, all the different famous Oscar lead up and whatever, that's free pub for Kentucky. So that's fantastic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We coming to y'all courtesy of the Anchor app or wherever you get your podcast. If you choose the option of just consuming us on the audio side, which what we did for about the first, 8.5 years of doing this. That's the only way to get us. These past few months, we now got the option of being consumed visually as well, courtesy of the BS3 network. We're on all the Roku TVs and Roku devices, thanks to Ben Sutter III. We are part of about 25 other podcasters that talk sports and religion and culture and marriage and relationships and
out here.
Doctors. Yes, so we're proud to be part of the BS3 network. Shout out to Ben Sutter, who's been on here with us. Had to get him back on here again as well. Even his mom and daddy got a podcast. Mr. Ben and Miss Irene do one every Saturday. They part of the network too. So they got all the bases covered in the BS3 network. And y'all when this drops, y'all can check it out on demand on BS3 and even on the YouTube, wherever you want to get us. We definitely appreciate it. And we also got a guest coming up in about 15 minutes. We got Jesse Riffe, the executive producer of BBN Tonight, and we have had Anna Tarullo, who's on a regular basis with Keith Farmer. We've had Anna Tarullo, Christy Thomas. Both those ladies are on that show, and they are repeat guests on here with us. Now we get the EP himself, Jesse Riffe, who's going to be on, probably coming to us from the station. So looking forward to talking with him. And then we're doing double duty. After this is over, we'll be hopping on the locker with our guy from UK running back, Anthony White, and chopping it up with him. So
that's right.
Y'all check that out. Check us out for sure, and then check that out. It's Anthony and Van doing their thing on the locker. But we're filling in, I guess, trying to fill Van's shoes and give our little insights and chop it up with A-Dot. So got a fun evening, man. Fun evening.
Yeah, I'm doing the Kentucky Dad podcast with Drew Brown tomorrow, so I'm doing a lot of tickety talking.
Repeat guest there, number 2, second time around on there.
Second time. We're going to talk about that long distance thing because having to take care of stuff long distance. But yeah, looking forward to that. So all kinds of stuff, man. We all over. We worldwide.
That's right. And on that new dad tip, like we hadn't even tried with the past couple episodes. Like I said, Bradley McKee was on a couple weeks ago. He's been on the dad pod. I've been on there. You about to be on there a second time. Bradley McKee just became a new dad about a year ago. We had Chris Collins, UKDB's coach, on last week, who's got a son about a year old, just experiencing all the new stuff of fatherhood. Speaking of the dad pod, I tagged him in the tweet last week because we talked so much fatherhood with Coach Collins. I just tagged him in when I tweet about the show, and they retweeted it. Big Blue Drew himself already has 2 kids and about to have 2 more because twins are on the way. So, congratulations. And he's going to go from 2 kids to 4 kids, just like that.
Yeah, and we know the math gets different when you have kids. When you go from 1 to 2, it's not double. It's like a quadruple with a little bit extra thrown in. So I can only imagine adding twins to when you already got 2. That's just, you played Helter Skelter. That's 40 minutes of hell. You all over the place with that.
And his youngest now is like a toddler. So he's going to have a toddler and newborn twins. Woo-wee.
Yeah. You know how it is when you get 2. I would try to explain this stuff to the missus here because she just got the one. Well, I got 1 stepson. And I understand, 1, I'm not trying to say that you're not a parent if you just got 1. That's not what I'm saying. But when you get more than 1, that adds a little bit of element of extra. There's an extra degree of difficulty, is what I'm saying. Because it's like, you stop touching me. You stop touching. You go through that. You go through. I remember that my youngest asked if the oldest could stop breathing. I said, no, I'm not going to ask her to do that. It just, how it becomes, and just she looking at me like, shut it up. I'm going to turn this car around.
And when something happens, and like I said, no shade to the missus for only having 1 because she is a parent. But when you have 2, especially fairly close in age, and they get into something and something happens, well, they can blame each other and try to lie and say it was the other one. That don't happen when you got 1 kid. Something get broken, you got 1 kid, unless it's the pet, it's going to be the kid.
You got to turn. You got to turn to CSI.
Yeah,
you got to turn to CSI and look at evidence. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
That's the deduce.
I ain't trying to be like David Caruso.
Use your skills of deduction and reason. And they trying to lie and trying to stay out of trouble, and you got to get to the bottom of stuff. With 2, that's what you got to do. With more than 1, that's what you got to start doing.
Absolutely, but but good news for the Cats coming. Oscar coming back, first National Player of the Year to return since Tyler Hansborough.
Wow, yeah,
that's big. That's big time stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good because he's going to get his flowers. I'm looking forward to. I'm already thinking about Big Blue Madness. When the team gets announced and you've got your defending National Player of the Year, Oscar. That's going to be a special moment for that.
Mhm.
So to me, the basketball team, there's not that big a drop off as folks try to make it out to be. The loss was unfortunate, but come to find out, we had a lot of dudes injured.
Yeah, I feel terrible for Kellen Grady, which once you got warmed up, you had to just stay out there, or you you go sit out and it locks up the plantar fasciitis, and
Yeah, that's painful too, man.
yeah, and he was just, I mean, his maturity. When we've seen it before in the form of these guys that are grad transfers, we saw the same thing with Reed Travis, Nate Sestina the same way. Nothing against the young 18, 19-year-olds, but when you see these guys in the press conferences that have been around and lived some life a little bit, Kellen Grady was, every time he was so introspective, so well thought out in all his answers, took ownership when he didn't play well. I shot like crap, or I shot like crap again. Just just mature, and he's 23, 24, still a young dude, but just so well thought out. Glad he had a signing at KS Bar the other day where some fans could go out and see him and show him some love and appreciation, because once a cat, always a cat, despite how the season ended. And then you learn he was out there, dragging 2 injured feet around. It just makes you appreciate what he did even more. We got to welcome in our guest who is going to be talking about this news on WLEX, just like we talked about, but he's going to be producing it for some of those hosts that we've had on this show. We got the executive producer of BBN Tonight on. First time having this guy on. Looking forward to it. So glad he's able to carve out some time on a big news day like today, TB.
Big news. I mean, we timed this out right.
Yeah.
Some folks might think we knew this ahead of time, but I've got no insider knowledge, but it's very fortuitous how this has worked out for us.
That's right. We got Jesse Riffe on backstage in the green room. Y'all check him out here on your Roku device. We're about to bring him on right now. Jesse, man, appreciate you joining us. How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you, man. Glad to have you. Been meaning to do it for a while.
Anything happening today?
It's a quiet day. It's a quiet day here in Kentucky world. So
yeah. So how's that affect you all? Were you gonna go live anyway? Were you gonna record? Does it change up your whole day?
It changes up our whole day when we got big news like this. We usually record our show in the afternoon so that we're not all here till the middle of the night trying to get stuff done, because there's we work all day getting the show ready, and then we usually record in the afternoon before the 4:00 news. And then there's usually 2 or 3 hours on the back end of the day that we're working on the show too. So anytime we got big news like this, it totally throws that out the window. We're going live, and we're just glad Oscar's coming back, and he's coming on our show tonight. So if you want to hear from Oscar, we got about 10 minutes of interview with him, exclusively. He sat down with Keith Farmer. So big night on BBN Tonight.
Absolutely. And we've had a couple of the hosts on. We've had Anna Trull on here multiple times, had Christy Thomas on here multiple times. Tweeted out yesterday that we were having you on, and Anna replied, "Great choice." So you're well thought of down there, Jesse. Sound like you good people. Sounds like.
Yeah, no, we love Anna, and we were so happy as soon as we, when the show started, we had Mary Jo Perino on board, and then as soon as Mary Jo let us know that she had an opportunity outside of TV to take, it was, well, do we know anyone that we think would be good for it? And I think we all knew Anna from Twitter, and we all were like, hey, there's this girl in Charleston. She's a huge Cats fan, huge personality. I think she'd be great. And then, luckily she applied, and it's all worked out great from there.
Yeah. Because the first time she was on here, So you're still over there in West Virginia. So
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about yourself. Are you born and raised in Kentucky or?
Yeah, I'm Ashland, Westwood, Kentucky. Actually, you got to tell everybody Ashland because Westwood ain't big enough. But
TB don't know nothing about that, being from the biggest city in the state and all. But
yeah, when my big city's Ashland and there's only like I think 9,000 people there. But I went to Fairview High School, so a small school. I graduated, I think 53 people.
Wow.
So, and then I went to Alice Lloyd College, which is another really small school down in the mountains in Knott County here in Kentucky. And I got on with WIMT in Hazard and have just worked my way here into Lexington. Got the best job in the world now.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm from Harlan County, so I'm from the mountains too. And you're up there in Boyd County, growing up in Ashland and all that good stuff. So yeah, man, but definitely appreciate you taking the time to hop on. Are you, I'm not gonna say more of a football fan, or
I'm the football guy.
Okay.
I'm the football guy. It works out great because everybody else on the show is basketball people. So, we got basketball covered with Keith and Anna and Maggie. They all love basketball, but I'm like the give me the 22 all film, let me watch the football tape guy. So it's been a really good couple of years for me.
Are you excited for this upcoming football season? Because if you look at the schedule and you look at the roster, it's hard to not let your eyes start to get big if you're a Kentucky fan. Because that Georgia game at the end of the year could be, that play-in for the SEC championship if things break right.
Yeah. No, I think they're in as good a position as they've been in April since I've been following college football. And at Georgia and the SEC championship game, that's tall drinks of water. But I don't see any reason why they won't be competitive for those spots. I think Will Levis, the sky's the limit with him, and if he can figure out how to do one or two things better than he did last year, like I think I seen today, he was like 15th or 16th in the Heisman odds, and I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
Yeah.
No, because if you check the landscape, Kentucky, usually the question is at quarterback. How are we going to, as the one guy, how are we going to matriculate down the field? But Will Levis has got that answered. So now we're kind of looking at these small things rather than the big question marks. So that's a good position to be in, like you said, coming out of spring practice.
Yeah, and coming into the spring, I was really concerned about the offensive line. I know that there's a lot of talented guys there, but when you lose 3 to the NFL, and I do believe that Darian, Luke, and Dare all have Darian and Luke for sure are going to get drafted, and I believe that Dare will as well, just because he's so athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose 3 guys like that, it's like how you gonna fill those shoes. But watching them this spring, we had the chance to go to the open practice, going to the spring game. I'm encouraged. I think Jeremy Flax on the right side is going to step right in. I don't think we're going to. I don't know that he's going to be Darian Kennard, but he's going to be an SEC right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
On the left side, we'll see. I think there's still a lot of learning over there for those guys, but I've been impressed with Deion Buford, and I've been really impressed with David Wallaball too. Now, I think he needs to put on some muscle. You saw him in the spring game a couple times where he would do everything right, and I think one time Sam Anali just pushed him back to the quarterback. Just bigger, stronger than he was.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a young guy, so that'll come. Coach Hill and the rest of the strength guys will get him right. So.
Absolutely. And isn't it a good position to be in? We're used to it on the basketball side. Okay, this guy's going to the league. it'll be, that next man up. But on football, you're kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of guys that are going to get their names called, but we're okay. Like it used to be, everything had to align just right for Kentucky football, but now Stoops has kind of got everything rolling where you're like, okay, yeah, you can lose 6 or 7 guys to the league and still be okay.
Yeah, well, and we just lost R.J. Adams to the transfer portal, and he was a 4-star guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happens 5 years ago, you lose a 4-star guy. I mean, sky's falling.
Right.
And
that's a crippling blow 5 years ago.
And RJ, I mean, he's a talented guy, and we think that he'll be successful wherever he goes. But I don't think anybody is pulling their hair out about him deciding to try to find opportunities elsewhere.
And the reason I knew it was, and with all respect to the young man, but Big Blue Nation, as you know, Jesse, they look for any kind of crumb for the sky to start falling.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that with this announcement. It was kind of like, we wish the young man well, but we good. And that to me is a rarity, especially on the football side when people want to be disappointed.
Yeah. And I think it's a unique situation too, where we have a little extra depth in some places because of that COVID year. That we've got guys that have stuck around for 5 years now, or 6 in some cases, that you wouldn't have had before, and those are grown men. Even if it's not the most talented guy in the world, it's a grown man out there playing a game with mostly boys.
Right. And you saw that a lot with a lot of the quote unquote mid majors in the tournament this year, that they used that COVID year and they got like 21, 22-year-olds, and it showed. I mean, obviously I think St. Peter's kind of, as Kentucky fans, that one's obvious, but a lot of those other schools took advantage of that as well. So I'm glad that one set of Wildcats are going to reap the benefits from that.
That's right.
Yeah, and the St. Peter's thing, I know that it's a gut punch and it's awful timing for something like that to happen, but I really think that it's kind of like that Grim Reaper come knocking on everybody's door type of thing. I know a lot of people in the media and the fan base are using that as an indictment of the basketball program, and I just don't think that it is that. Everybody gets beat by 13 or 14 or 15 seed eventually. It just hadn't happened to us yet.
Mm-hmm. That's it. The first time, I'll flip back to football real quick. The first time I think your name came up on this show, this time last year or in the summer leading up to the football season, your ears might actually burn the minute it was said. Christy, I had asked her because in one of the spots on the show, we were talking about Luke Fortner, and she said Luke Fortner is back for his bicentennial season, and Anna like sounded like her mother. She reprimanded her. She went, Christy, and so we asked Christy about it, and because I was rolling. I mean, it was such a funny line. And then I think she attributed it to you. She said, I should take credit for that if it was that funny. She said, but I actually think Jesse Riffe wrote that. So that's when your name first came up. I said, I got to get this dude on here and ask him about that.
Well, I mostly just try to entertain myself. and when we used to have the Hey Kentucky show here at LEX, I got to work on that. And a lot of that was just trying to be entertaining. And so I've tried to carry some of that forward to this, where I'll write jokes in there and I just won't tell anybody that I wrote it. And then, Keith or Anna will go on there and they'll read it and I'll be like, oh, here it comes. they're going to, and it's, sometimes it's just for me, or like we'll have Jeff Pecoro on sometimes, and I'll throw a joke in there that is just to make Jeff laugh on TV. And it might be something really obscure that is specific to him, but it'll get him smiling and put him in a good mood. And then he has the big personality on the TV, and that comes through.
So do you go in every day looking for that, or is it just the way?
No, it just kind of when it comes to me.
Yeah.
If you watch the show and you look at our lower thirds, the banners at the bottom of the screen, we try to have a lot of fun there too. And it's not just me, Maggie Davis, she does a little bit of everything for us, and she helps write and produce the show too. And she's also hilarious, I think. So and it's just little nuggets. Like yesterday, we had a thing that Curtis Birch, our friend at the UK Sports Network, had done, where he'd asked some of the guys what the perfect sandwich was. And it's just little stuff like on the lower thirds for it said Eli Cox, and then under it said mostly concerned about the bread.
He was detailed into his. He talked a lot about that bread before we even got into the sandwich.
He's right too. It's absolutely buttered brioche buns. That's the way to go.
And so this time of year, you got more time to just, you don't have games, and it's not, football and basketball games, 2 or 3 games a week. It's slow. You got softball, you got baseball, golf, and track, but you gotta have more time to.
It's a bit of a different challenge, actually. You'd think, but now it takes us twice as long to put everything together. You know what I mean? Because we fill 30 minutes a night, and after, there's not midweek baseball press conferences.
Right.
They're traveling. Like they're off on Mondays. They have their Tuesday game, then they travel on Wednesday. And so that we don't have that press conference that we can talk about or things like that, and there's just not as much hoopla around, some of the things that are going on now that there is around football and basketball. So basketball team losing early hurt us more way than one.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. We understand that. Sometimes it's tough to fill that if the teams aren't playing. If they go out early, it's really kind of tough to get that content. But you all do a good job. I'm here in Iowa. I moved to Iowa last year after I got married. But it's nice to be able to pick up a show like yours, like BBN Tonight, and get that little nugget of home.
Yeah.
And see some familiar faces and get that. It's great. It's one of those things, like when you're there, you may not catch it all that much, but when you're surrounded by nothing but cornfields, you kind of get homesick a little bit. So it's nice to see some familiar faces and get some of those little nuggets that you can only get at the local stage.
Yeah, well, and we try to be as all-encompassing as possible too. Like today, we did an interview with Alexis Holmes, she runs the 400 for the women's track team, and in the indoor season, she ran the fastest 400 in the NCAA, and so she's trying to do that again in the outdoor season, and so it's really nice for us to be able to put a spotlight on athletes like her that maybe if we didn't have a 30-minute show you wouldn't get to. Like Keith has been in the newscasts all day long promoting our Oscar interview for tonight, but he only gets 2 to 3 minutes at a time. So it really, the long form Monday through Friday show really lets us tell you about UK sports, not just UK basketball and football.
And because, like Terry, you always say, they're working just as hard as the the revenue sports are or the fall sports are. They're putting in the exact same amount of work. Abby Steiner, Jensen Castle, all those athletes are grinding just as much as Oscar Tshiebwe and Will Levis.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely put in all the work. Mary Tucker left the rifle program, but we would go out to the rifle stuff, and I think we went out for like an 8 a.m. shoot, and it was like, well, Mary's not here yet, and they were like, well, she has an 8 a.m. class, so she's been here. She shot from 4 to 6 a.m.
Yeah,
and it's like, man,
And that's why I tell folks, if you're just now look, if you want to be a Kentucky basketball or football fan, that's great. But if you're going to say all cats everything, they're competitive in everything. When you look
they're
top to
so
bottom,
good across the board.
mm-hmm.
That's one thing you have to tip your cap to Mitch Barnhart for, is just from top to bottom, they're competitive, they're ranked, and there are a lot of good kids. That's the thing too. When you get to talk to them, they're just, and I can say kids because I'm in my 40s now, so I can say my oldest is getting ready to go to college, so I can say that now. But they're really good kids, and and covering stuff like the Catsby Awards, and you see these folks, these young people that are doing stuff in the community and on the field and off. As a Kentucky fan and alum, it makes you really proud.
And it really, the stuff that these athletes are doing off the field, it really doesn't get enough publicity because they're all so involved in the community service, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I mean, it goes on and on what they're doing, and you don't hear about it because they're not doing it for the photo op. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
They're all doing it because they want to. They want to help. They feel like the community has given them an opportunity and they want to give back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I see a couple of autographs in the background on your on the log you got there. Who you got? Who signed?
I think that's John Calipari. I'm in the conference room, so that's just here at the station. But I believe that's Coach Cal's signature there.
Okay. I saw a couple of scribbles. I'm like, back there. But man, I know you got a big evening, especially with the Oscar news. So you guys getting the show together, but we definitely enjoyed having you, and we got to get you on again, especially once you get closer to football season. If you can squeeze in a few minutes, if it's not too crazy, in the fall, we get you on again and talk with you some more, Jesse, man. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah,
man.
and you guys, I hope you'll tune in at 7:30 on LEX 18, and we'll have an exclusive interview with Oscar Tshiebwe. Keith sat down with him for 10-15 minutes today to talk about his decision, and you're only going to hear that here.
And live at 7:30, or was it BBNTonight.com?
BBNTonight.com. It'll be on BBNTonight.com as soon as we're done. Every episode goes up there.
Mm-hmm.
It also will go on the app. If you've got like a Roku or a Fire TV, you can download the LX 18 app and you can watch us there every night.
Okay.
So,
and you messaged me. I'm gonna tell the beans. You said a lot of behind the camera guys don't get asked to go on podcasts. So you representing for the guys behind the camera, and we're happy to have you, man.
Well, I had a lot of fun coming on with you guys, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jesse. Have a good night. Have a good show, man.
Yes, sir.
You too.
Appreciate it. Jesse Riffe hopping on here. EP BBN Tonight, TB.
That's right. That's right.
Thank him for taking the time and putting in the little elements of comedy, putting in the little stuff, get the little jokes in, get the content, and tonight got the, talked about how it's harder to put together a 30-minute show, except for today, because courtesy of Oscar, like we talked about, he gift wrapped some content for today.
And it is hard, I have said that just by us doing this show, I've got a lot of respect for some of those national folks that are on radio, the Jim Romes and the Colin Cowherds and that kind of thing, because it is hard.
Every day.
When there's not a lot. I'm sorry?
And they do it every day by themselves.
Yeah. It's hard coming up with, you may not like the Skip Bayless and the Stephen A. Smith. I'm not a big fan, but it is hard to come up with stuff, particularly if you're a Kentucky show like us, and there's just not that much Kentucky stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, outside of Oscar, the last week or so, there's, you know, I know the baseball team lost to Louisville, but there's just not as much because there's not that much availability of the players and coaches, for one, and it's just difficult. And you know, once the summertime rolls around, you know what it is trying to pick up little nuggets to talk about, and we just do this once a week. So you know, and them doing it by themselves, yeah, I give them all the props in the world. I tell people all the time, way back when, this was early on, I think it was like the end of the year show one year, and you had something to do, and you said, you know, can you hold it down? I said, I got this. I can do 2 hours. And it was the end of the year, and I got Sports Illustrated. I got all this kind of stuff, and I'm recapping, right? You know, in January, we had the Super Bowl, right? And then March Madness, and then the Masters, and then, you know, you got all this kind of stuff. I get done talking, I look up, 30 minutes have passed. And I'm like, oh, man. Oh, how am I going to do this? So, yeah, it's difficult. So I cut those folks a lot of slack because it's difficult to try to come up with new and fresh things that people haven't heard. You know, every single day. So I tip my hat to them. So, and the BBN Tonight folks, absolutely fantastic. I love to watch and tune in. Great personalities, as you said. You know, having Anna Tarullo on our show, and she's been very nice to my little miss when we would go and cover things. So, as you know, not being in Kentucky, you got to do whatever you can to kind of bring that Kentucky flavor back home. Because there's nothing but corn here.
Yeah. I think back to the pre, years ago, a few years ago, you didn't even have iHeart on your phone, and I was, back then, I still liked the sports talk stuff, and I knew more about Tennessee's roster than I wanted to because that's all you could get, and and then there was Jim Rome at 12, and it was all local Knoxville stuff from in the morning until 12, and then local Knoxville afternoon drive stuff, so I get to, like, man, I don't care about Tennessee's secondary. I don't care about, but I knew more about, because you have it on at work, or people you work with have it on, or comes on the news, and I'm like, oh God, I know way more about them than I want to know. So then you get your iHeart, and you're able to get, the Lexington stations, Louisville stations, and all that kind of stuff, and get some shows and things of that nature. So that gradually brought the home back to us, made it like you hadn't left. It made it a lot more tolerable.
Speaking of local sports talk, there's high drama here in the Hawkeye State. The ownership group that owns the Field of Dreams field announced, I guess maybe it was at the end of last week, that they're going to build a sports complex at the Field of Dreams site. And folks are losing their minds that site is going to be developed. And it's been the talk of all the sports radio here in Iowa. And it's, for me, it's a movie. I had somebody at work explain it to me, like, what if they developed, Churchill Downs? Like, well, they did. Like, about 15 years ago, maybe I'm getting my timelines, but when you think Churchill Downs, you think of the Twin Spires, right? Well, they built and developed. So now it used to be when you would get close to Churchill Downs, the spires just loomed large over everything. Well, now they've developed convention space and extra seating. And so the spires aren't quite as prominent as they used to be. And I said, look, it's different because the Kentucky Derby is a real thing. The Field of Dreams was made for a movie. Like, this is like getting upset because they're doing something to the set of Star Trek. Like, it's not real. It's not a real thing. Real people didn't come out of the corn. It's complete make-believe. But, on the same token, I get it. I was on that list of Kentucky where, most people don't think of that state, right? Most people don't think it's, your New York, LA, or California, Florida. You don't think of, you just don't. I
No.
didn't till I met, like Iowa. I don't know exactly where that is in the map, but whatever. So they hold this kind of, because the spotlight is on Iowa, like with the baseball game between the White Sox and the Yankees last year, and they're going to do it again with the Cubs and the Reds this year.
Ooh, y'all going?
No, tickets is high.
Oh, okay.
Tickets is high, and plus getting to Dyersville, you got to go over the river and through the woods. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. And in Iowa, that's saying something because generally Iowa is the middle of nowhere. So I understand that, this Field of Dreams was, it made Iowa special to the rest of the country. I get it. But by the same token, that's make believe.
Yeah. Now when they just had the first baseball game last year, did they have to do some building for that, or was that already there from the movie, or did they not change anything?
No, they had to revamp a whole lot of stuff to get the limited seating and things of that nature. The field has been there since the movie.
Okay.
And, when the field was built, it was built in between two farms, half on one, half on the other, and they left it, right? And it became a site, became a thing to go see, and the field has remained. Eventually, one family sold to the other, and it's a tourist attraction. And then this company,
they was cool. They was cool with them retooling stuff for the MLB to come in and play a game, but don't y'all dare try to add anything else to it like they talking about doing now.
Yeah, and look, I get it a bit, but by the same token, look, folks just trying to make some money. I mean, that's the name of the game. And for me, like I said, look, I'll be honest with you, I've not seen Field of Dreams. I'm not gonna say that too loud because when it came out, when Field of Dreams came out, and I think it was on HBO, whatever it was, I asked my dad, and my dad, after a few choice words, was like, I don't want to see that. And I understand the movie. Kevin Costner's trying to bond with his dad, maybe, I guess. I don't know. And it's about baseball and it's bringing old baseball players out. Well, for my dad's generation, probably your dad's generation, they were about the Negro Leagues. Like, there was no Negro League stars coming out of the corn. Like, so there was nothing for us to have that bond over. So I never saw it.
Yeah, I haven't either. But
and my issue with baseball has always been baseball just loves to look back on nostalgia, but they don't tell you the whole story. Like just last week, we had not Hank Aaron, Jackie Robinson Day. And I really wish baseball would stop because Jackie has become on the same level with MLK. Oh, these guys were champions and they fought against injustice. All right. And then we move on and we never talk about exactly what the injustice was. When it comes to Jackie Robinson, we never talk about, well, he broke the color barrier. Why was there a color barrier? Who put the color barrier there? Who did not want to see him succeed? There's all this extra that just like, well, who knows?
Right.
And you get this Disney version of, well, the plucky minority overcame. Well, there's more to it than that. But we never have those discussions. And baseball has just routinely, their whole thing is, remember Jackie Robinson used to work here. And now there's as few black players in Major League Baseball now as when Hank Aaron was playing.
Yeah.
And even when we were growing up, a lot of the stars, the black stars, were like son of somebody. Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds, Like, a lot of the stars were but we're not having that. There's that disconnect. And
Yeah.
when you think of the black ball players now, Tim Anderson and
I saw D. Gordon pitching against the Braves the other day just because it was a blowout, and they moved him in from left field because he pitched an inning or two.
what Andrew McCutcheon, but he's in
Cuts,
year
yeah.
18 or 19. It's a very short list. Whereas when you and I were coming up, every team had a cut. Like there were dudes, and look.
Yeah.
My issue with Major League Baseball is they're okay with it. They just are. The powers that be don't want black people playing.
Because after my favorite player kind of changed growing up. It initially, 7, 8 years old, it was Dale Murphy. He was a draw. He was the best player on a sucky team.
Mm-hmm.
When he left, Ron Gant was my guy because that dude was jacked like a running back and hitting home runs left and right. And he was on that 91 team, went worst to first. Went, Murphy to Ron Gant to Fred McGriff to Gary Sheffield,
Yeah,
that was,
and,
so yeah, a lot more.
And that's the thing that we're missing. And there's things you can do.
My bad. Tell your lovely wife too. The first game I went to, in the little group we're in, they asked, "Who's your team?" You put the Expos gear on. I put that picture when I was 7 years old. Me and my dad, and my granddad went to Atlanta, played Kate's Cubs for my first game seeing Dale Murphy. The Cubs were in town. So it was Ryan Sandberg, but it was also Leon Durham on first base. Shawn, Shawon Dunston playing shortstop.
Yeah.
And Big Lee Smith came out the bullpen and closed it out. So I mean,
but you don't have that anymore. And I just don't think Major League Baseball is trying to play youth baseball, competitive baseball is very expensive if you're playing traveling ball and you've got all this equipment. There's so many things that go into it. I think baseball could do a better job of it, but they don't want it.
Yeah.
A lot of these unwritten rules kind of go against the culture of the Latin players and the black players. Look, man, if you throw a ball as big as my fist, 95 miles an hour, and it's spinning and it's moving up and down and left and right, and I take a stick and I hit it 450 feet, I'm letting you know I hit this 450 feet. I'm letting you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to remember Ken Griffey Jr. wearing his hat backwards.
I'll shut the world down.
I mean, that was a thing. I mean, and it's ridiculous. And you see baseball being played over in Japan and Korea. Man, they got music. In the outfield, they having a good old time. You see when they play in the Caribbean leagues, like it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But baseball is, you see me tweet this out. Major League Baseball loves to remind you why it used to be America's pastime. And it's got nothing to do with pace of play. It's got nothing to do with these fixes that they're trying to fix.
Yeah.
I love baseball, but I'm not a fan of MLB. And I think they're okay with me not being a fan.
Mm-hmm.
MLB has the oldest set of fans of any of the major sports.
Yeah. What about a minute?
And they love looking backwards. Look, I got a lot of flack when I tweeted out, I don't know, last week or so, I thought Babe Ruth was overrated.
Oh,
What do you mean?
Look at his. That was that poll. Was it favorite player, overrated
player, overrated player, best player, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't say Babe Ruth was good or was not good. I didn't say he was not great. I said overrated. Because we have made that dude the standard. right? We collectively, Babe Ruth is the standard. And obviously, he did not play against Negroes. So we talk about asterisk. There's a huge caveat for that. Because nowhere else can you say a person that played before full integration, greatest full stop. I don't know any real of the names of the NBA players that played before integration.
George Mikan don't get that, and he probably still played. It integrated while he was still playing.
Right. But I think
all those guys.
I think when the Minneapolis Lakers won, I don't believe the league was integrated at that point. Right?
Okay.
We don't do it as Kentucky players. I ain't talking about Wawa Jones being the best Kentucky player. Like, that is my one thing with baseball. They love to celebrate the time before integration. And nowhere else in America can you do that. All these baseball folks love to tell you 1927 Yankees, best team ever.
Murderers Row.
And it's like, well, yeah, you can be good if you don't have to go against Pedro, if you don't have to bat again. Like, yeah, okay. You can say those guys were good, but you have to put asterisk, league wasn't integrated.
No.
And so every other avenue of American culture, we can have that conversation, right? There's that delineation between pre-integration and integration. But baseball is like, no, these guys best ever. And you can't do that.
Yeah.
In my estimation, that's my biggest issue with baseball, other than the fact that 94 season canceled my Expos and they were then moved to Washington, D.C. But but seriously, that's my big issue with baseball. And they don't want, it seems like they don't want me to be a fan. Like, I can tell the NBA wants me to be a fan. I know they tried with the dress code and all that kind of stuff to unblack the league, but they and it's not just a race thing with baseball. There's no reason why people don't know Mike Trout. None. Baseball doesn't market the people they do like.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll just come to the park. What? and look, there was a tweet that was out talking, I think maybe last year, talking about the Angels. You'll see a story where Mike Trout goes 6 for 8. He's now batting 400 on the season. And then what's the other guy for the Angels? The pitcher batter. Ohtani. Ohtani does something we haven't seen since 1849, and the Angels lose 6-3. Like that. You can't. It would be. Well, I mean, it's not even like my Lakers. It would be like prime Shaq and Kobe missing the playoffs.
Wow.
You got two generational talents, and these dudes don't play any meaningful games past the 4th of July. And that's a problem for baseball.
And they're technically, in the second largest market in the country.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
That's the thing is baseball's not even marketing the stars that they do have. There's just no reason for it. And since I'm all about baseball, blackout rules. Did you know here in Iowa, we cannot watch the Cubs, the White Sox, the Twins, the Cardinals, or the Kansas City Royals? We're blacked out.
Like, y'all can't even get WG. Well, they don't even put them on WGN anymore. I don't guess, do they? But
every now and then, But the way the system is set up, Iowa can't see anything. Even though the iCubs, the Cubs AAA affiliate, right down the street, blacked out. And how are you going to grow your game if it's blacked out like that?
Yeah.
It's we talk about the Super Bowl being played, on a Sunday. Why can't you, whatever. But look at the baseball playoffs. Start at 8 o'clock. How are you supposed to grow that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you do it.
What's is Iowa the only state, or is it regional blackouts everywhere? Or
there's regional blackouts everywhere. Yeah, there's regional blackouts everywhere. It's just that where Iowa falls, and the closest team I want to say is Minnesota, but that's still like 300 miles away. But just where Iowa sits, it's the one state that's blocked out by 5 teams.
So y'all get the Braves on TBS?
Yeah, I mean, we've had to do some other things, wink, wink, to watch the games, but it shouldn't be that hard. You shouldn't have to become MacGyver and try to figure out how to be able to watch a team play. How do you grow a game like that?
Mm-hmm.
MLB cracks down on clips online. You got to move with the times.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do it. I mean, because they're making their money, so I get that. But again, baseball loves to remind you why it used to be America's pastime.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how I know? Because everything stops for the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'd have to think about the last 5 World Series champions.
Well, of course, the Braves, Dodgers, Nationals, Astros, Red Sox beat the Dodgers one of those years too, or something like that. But
yeah, now I do know in 2016 the Cubs won the World Series. A lot of people forget that. I do know that, but it's just not what it used to be. You used to know the World Series champs. You used to, not to be all old fogarty, but it used to be different. But that's my anti-baseball rant as I wear my MLB cap.
That's right. And you went with Bond's greatest of all time. I think I went with Riffe. I guess just as the Braves fan, since he couldn't throw. I'm on the other side of Coach Hurt from the KY Sports guys, the Pirates fan. But since Sid Bream scored from second on him, I think that, Brad couldn't throw him out, or else they go to that World Series that year. But and if Griffey stays healthy, he got a little Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway to him, and he still put up crazy numbers, 600 home runs with all the injuries he had. So but it was always 1A, 1B, flip a coin between those two when we was growing up anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a Bonds guy, and I know. Look, I get it. And I've never tried to be a Bonds apologist, but as I've always said, what he did, I would like to believe I'm strong enough to not do that, but because you have to keep in mind, by 98, Barry Bonds was the only member of the 400 club, the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 98, and I need to find it again. It's one of those sports clippings. It was keeping up with the home run chase, right? The Sosa McGuire home run chase, and then Barry Bonds becoming the only baseball player in history 400 was at the bottom of the thing. I'd like to think I would not have made the choices he made, but I understand where he's coming from. Like, y'all see what I'm doing?
I'm making history too.
Like, y'all see, and the thing is, Barry was never likable.
No.
And that was kind of his thing. He was never likable, a bit of a jerk, and he's admitted as much. But by the same token, you've also got to, with his dad and his godfather and what they went through. Because again, going back to Jackie Robinson, it wasn't like, oh, Jackie's here. Yay, everything's great. Nah, man. Larry Doby, like, the first one in the American League, like, just because you get one, every team had to get that first one. And then you got to get the second one. And then you got to get the third one. Like, so I understand where Barry was coming from, because he's like, look, I'm better than all these other dudes.
Yeah.
You gotta treat me different. So I get it. And again, I'm not trying to explain bad behavior and different things like that, but I understand his point of view.
No, and he was as 5'2" as it gets. I mean, like you said,
absolutely.
Stealing, outside of the not throwing out Sid Bream, still played a good left field.
Yeah.
Hit for average, hit for power. I think it was it Glavin? I was playing the Braves one time, and lefty, and that's for whatever reason that's always more difficult than righty. But Glavin, crafty lefty. Glavin threw a changeup, and Barry got fooled. He was already ready to swing, like realized it was a changeup, recoiled, and still hit it out. Like that's a Hall of Famer. That's a Hall of Fame pitcher that you did that to. Get fooled and recover and still hit a home run.
I got bored one day and I just looked up all Barry's stats and awards up until 98, 99. I mean, the dude was incredible, and I don't think we appreciated nearly enough. And then he said, okay, this is how the game is. I will show you the peak of what someone can do. So again, I'm not absolving him of anything. I'm just saying I understand it. Now, you can get all high and mighty about all this kind of stuff, and that's where I disagree with, some more learned people than me. Howard Bryant, who I ordinarily love, writes for ESPN and everything. But his thing is, he no longer votes for the MVP or for the Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. Great, but while all this stuff was going on, what were you guys saying? Collectively as the media, what were you saying? Like we knew in '98, we had a feeling this may not be on the up and up.
Right.
When all of a sudden we've got two guys doing things we haven't seen in 100 years of baseball, live ball, dead ball, integration, segregation. The flag should have been there, but we all reap these benefits. Baseball made money, Bud Selig made money. All these media folks writing books and selling papers and getting clicks. Everybody made money. And then when the check came due, we hung the players out to dry. So my thing is you let them in, because it goes back to when you talk Hall of Fame, what is the Hall of Fame? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to tell your story? Right? Trying to tell the story of your game. And you can't do that without Barry Bonds, without Roger Clemens, even without Pete Rose. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, boy, for not being baseball guys, we done spent a lot of time on the baseball. Because baseball been very, very good to me.
Most baseball we talked in a long time. Sure is.
That's right.
I got to play a little promo video because we talked about everything everybody gets when you watch us on Roku and all the good podcasts that we're a part of. So just throw a little video in there for those that are watching. And then we'll get right back to what we do on the show. Let's see. BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV. Proud to be a part of it and be a part of all those great podcasts that you can watch, good content that you can consume as part of BS3 Network. We talked about, you mentioned the point of how Trout and Ohtani doing what they're doing or not what they're doing be the equivalent of Kobe and Shaq missing the playoffs. And in that vein, Jokic is on the verge of maybe making some dubious history if they don't get a game in this series against Golden State. Being an MVP, they get swept. If he wins the MVP again, which he's a finalist with Giannis and I forget who the other one is, but Jokic could very well win the MVP again because he's done what he's done this year without Jamal Murray, and the Nuggets are the 5th seed, but they're getting smoked these first couple of games against the Warriors, and the list of MVPs who have gotten swept is small, but this could happen if they don't win a game. The one year that the MVP didn't make the playoffs was Kareem in like 74, 75. So those Lakers went 40 and 42. But he still did like 27 and 10 and whatever he did. So it was some interesting numbers. And I mean, if Denver wins the game, it's all for naught. But right now it's looking kind of shaky for him.
Yeah, I love the playoffs. I've been watching as many games as I can. Devin Booker got hurt last night. Not great for the Suns, but he was cooking early. He was cooking.
And you mentioned the dress code too. His I couldn't defend his outfit last night. That was little. You see, I love him. I love him. The shirt and the necklace was straight. The shorts, you had them dress shoes and the dress socks pulled up halfway up your leg. I was like, damn it, what you? And Charles Barkley, he said, you better be a great player. You come in looking like that.
Yeah. But yeah, hate that he's hurt because he was cooking last night.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed the Timberwolves and in Memphis.
I told you, which is it's split going back to Minnesota. I'm like, Memphis ain't got that much experience either.
So that's been fun.
Yeah, this could be a series, even though it's supposedly one-sided on paper.
Tyrese Maxey. It's kind of like Tyrese and Embiid, and then Harden is the third wheel.
I was wrong, and I'll gladly admit it. I thought that trade was going to screw Maxey up. Man, it is done. I mean, it ain't phased him. Okay, James Harden here. That's fine.
Yeah, so he's balling out.
Yeah.
Look, man, for some reason, I don't know how, I'm following a bunch of Toronto Raptors fans. I'm like, y'all just one chip, and y'all like, what is going on? And because I follow along, they laughing at the Lakers' misfortune. Like Toronto, I forget they won. Like that is when we look back, that's going to be the aberration. Where it's going to be like, how did that happen? Like what broke down? Probably the most what the hell champion in NBA history.
Before that one, before they won theirs, you probably say the Pistons when they beat
the Pistons. The Pistons in 04, but
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That probably until this Raptors championship dethroned. That bumped the Pistons out of top spot, I would say.
Yeah. The Pistons in 04, I'm still,
because nobody saw them beating the Lakers in 5. Nobody saw that.
No, I didn't at the time, but I watched a little bit. Well, I watched the entire Nets versus Boston. I'm rooting for the Nets to win because I dislike Boston immensely. I want bad things to happen to Boston. I don't want people injured. Don't say that, but I want Boston to lose. Because remember, the last 30 years, they are the Dallas Mavericks. Don't let them get you twisted. Okay? They're the Dallas Mavericks. Right? They're the Toronto Raptors, to be honest. You look back and say, oh, yeah, they did win that. So I started watching Winning Time on HBO. I read the book Showtime that it's based on, but I started watching the show. And I can see why people are hot. the show is taking a lot of liberties because they're making a television show. I can see why Jerry West was hot.
Uh-huh.
Kind of positioning him as a cussing curmudgeon and all that. Well, that's not the impression I got from the book, but a tortured soul, all those losses to the Celtics really hurt.
Yeah.
But a tortured soul doesn't make a TV show. A cussing, throwing stuff, that makes a TV show. I can understand why Magic is upset. Because we knew Magic was a wild boy in the 80s.
Uh-huh.
We knew that.
Yeah.
We knew him and Cookie, before Magic was a wild boy.
He was
in the 80s.
Get it in.
And look, we knew it. We know it. He knows it. Cookie knows it.
Right.
But I cannot imagine sitting next to my wife watching a TV show where my wild boy days was on display.
Yeah, that's tension filled at the least.
But
Mm-hmm.
my takeaway for the first few episodes, really, it goes back to what I've said about Gonzaga and how the college basketball writers are really trying to make it happen, right? Lovely Gonzaga, Mark Few, little engine that could. Look what he's doing in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
And my response to be is like, have you been to Lawrence, Kansas? Have you been to Lexington, Kentucky, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, Bloomington, Indiana? There's nothing real special about those cities. There's nothing about those cities that would make you think a college basketball dynasty could be here, right? Because when Jerry Buss buys the Lakers are almost bankrupt. As you pointed out, they had missed the playoffs a few years before. The Lakers, it had been a long time since their heyday. They won in 72, but there had been a dip, but they willed it to happen. Now, it's fortunate if you're going to do that to have Kareem on the roster and the coin flip get you Magic. That helps. But when you see the dire straits that the Lakers are in at that point, a lot of hard work, a little bit of luck, a lot of hard work went in to win 11 championships in the next 40 years, especially 5 of the next 11. I did enjoy the scene where Jerry Buss was talking to Red Auerbach, and Auerbach's telling him, he needs to sell the team and blah 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 blah, and Buss is like, my thing is I'm gonna make a dynasty to make people forget about the Celtics, and I don't remember that from the book, but maybe for TV. But as a Laker fan, it makes me smile because I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So I'm enjoying Winning Time as a show. I'm not taking it as a documentary about what. I did like the nod. The Oscar winner Adrian Brody is Pat Riley, and as this character is introduced, gives a shot to Kentucky. I'm like, yeah, there you go. We always factor into things. So I've enjoyed it just as a TV show and seeing some of the behind the scenes. But I'm not trying to say that that's what happened, because again, I've read the book and I can understand people being upset about it. But I'm enjoying it just on the basis of a TV show. But back to the current playoffs, Kyrie is really good at basketball. Kyrie Irving is really, really good. He's talented. He's highly skilled. He's just a weird dude. And, Boston is Boston. And we keep talking about should players retaliate and should players do what Kyrie did. Look, man, yeah, flip somebody off. I'd rather do that than have somebody go into the stands. We have to start saying fans can absolutely cross the line. They can. What I don't need is the Charles Barkley to get on his high horse and talk about you need to ignore the fans. That's what we did back in my day. Like you spit on an 8-year-old girl.
Sure did.
Like, you threw a dude through a window. Like, if you want to say Kyrie shouldn't do it and I shouldn't have done what I did, okay. But don't, like, we can Google that stuff. And some of us are old enough to remember these things. But we need to acknowledge that fans can cross the line. We talked about it before, people throwing popcorn and drinks and this kind of stuff. But Boston got a reputation.
Yeah.
They pooped in Bill Russell's house, smeared it on the walls. There's a reason why his jersey retirement ceremony was not to the public. It just is. And, you know, again, you don't want to paint every Boston Celtics fan with a broad brush, but I mean, okay. The reputation was deserved. So, but Kyrie's really, really good. And for the Celtics to kind of get that last second win, when you got Kyrie doing his thing, Durant was not completely himself, and that was a kind of weird game. A lot of fouls, a lot of unevenness. But I still think if Kevin Durant gets it going with Kyrie Irving, that's tough to beat for the Celtics.
Yeah,
because it becomes, can your big dogs beat our big dogs? And I will take Kyrie and KD over Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Right, yeah. A little bit more proven.
Yeah, I'll do that. Now, the issue is, you look at the rest of the Nets, you got Goran Dragic coming in. Like, yeah, okay.
Blake Griffin? What?
Like, yeah, a lot of these dudes, I got to Google to see who they are. That's not great. But I think we saw that, you know, once Kevin Durant, if he can get it going.
Patty Mills up there now. I think that's
Andre Drummond. There's a lot of men on that Nets roster.
Yeah.
We got Utah, and who's Utah playing?
Dallas, the Luka-less Mavs.
You know, look, Utah is the most mediocre franchise. Like, they're not bad like the Clippers. But Utah has been playoff good for pretty much my entire life.
Yep.
And that's about it. Again, I've never met a Utah Jazz fan in the wild. Like, it's just one of those things. I have met I met Rockets fans.
That's true.
But Utah, nobody rocks with Utah. It's like
I went to school with one guy, one dude back in high school. That was it.
Was he a Utah fan?
I'm pretty sure he was. I think Will Stanton he was always hollering Stockton and all this, I believe. Yeah.
But it's not like the Jazz. Like, again, they were terrible at the end of Jerry Sloan's run. Like, they were terrible then. But other than that, they've been really good. You know, they, like I said, playoffs,
Frank
All-Star,
Mark Eaton.
Yeah. They had a run, you know. We paid attention to the Jazz in Louisville because Darryl Griffith and then Felton Spencer. And, of course, now they got Donovan Mitchell. They had a lot of Louisville guys on that team throughout the years. But
nothing. All-Star game.
Do what?
About to get the All-Star game. So.
Yeah, they got to do something about that Salt Lake nightlife. That's going to be funny. I would watch that reality show. people trying to party in Salt Lake City. You got your usual crowd for the NBA All-Star game showing up in Salt Lake City.
And the city shuts down at 7:30.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Like, you're going to get people hopping on a plane to Vegas, going back and forth.
Right. Yeah. Get me to Denver. Get me somewhere. Get me.
That's gonna be interesting. But the Jazz, like, I think they've been the most consistent franchise of my life. Honestly, no real dip, but no real highs either.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because their two dudes are highly problematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I was listening to Bomani with the one I think when Vinny Goodwill was on there, and they just went back and gave props to Magic just to the 9 finals appearances in 12 years, and they were still kind of like Magic is a little underrated. Came back in '96, and he was jacked. I mean,
he was a healthy Magic.
His upper body was so swole, and he was just posting people up, dishing passes and throwing little jump hooks, and what they say now, he'd be the best power forward coming in if he played now. I mean, they were making a lot of good points to where.
Well, and I loved it. I'm a Magic Johnson fan. For me, there's Jerry Rice, and folks should know T Brown _80. The 80s were like, okay, I've got a whole box in the basement of my Jerry Rice stuff that we're in the process of looking for a new house. So getting ready to box up and move again. But anyway, so I got all my Jerry Rice. So people that know me know there's Jerry Rice, but Magic is that other guy. Me and my dad, we got to watch him play years ago in the Spectrum in Philly. Magic is just phenomenal. Like, I liked it because he beat your brains in, but he acted like he was having a good time about it. And I think that's kind of what gets lost in some of this stuff is the Michael Jordanization. I just made that up. Michael Jordanization of sports, where you got to be a borderline psychopath to win. And if you're not like that, then you don't want to win. And I think that's because, again, Magic, 9 finals between 79 and 91.
Mm-hmm.
And winning 5. I have long said that Magic belongs in that conversation. As basketball heads, we make the conversation binary, MJ or LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is, you can say that MJ is your 1. That's fine. My second point to that is the gap between 1 and 2 is not as wide as we made it out to be, where it's MJ and everybody else. No.
They talking about that team he drugged to the finals in '91, and you think about it. Kareem was gone. James Worthy was old.
Lottie Divac, Elton Campbell, Worthy was hurt.
Scott was old.
Yeah. And this was when Portland goes to the finals in 90 and 92.
Yeah.
And there were, you got Run TMC out there at Golden State, but Magic willing that team.
Mm-hmm.
I always said Magic belongs in the conversation. As good as he was, as high as he is revered, he's probably still one of the more underrated superstars.
Yeah.
And the thing about with Magic, though, and basketball in general, numbers don't tell the whole story. Because he's not the all-time assist leader, but as we said last week, Stockton is, but Stockton probably isn't cracking the top 5 of NBA point guards.
Didn't he? He was when he retired, didn't he? Magic
when he stepped away in '91, yeah, he had the record.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. He had the record at one point. Yeah, he did.
It took Stock a while to break it.
Right. Yeah, because Stockton broke it, and I think Mark Jackson might have passed him. Yeah. But Magic was that dude. And Again, I'm biased. I'm not able to discuss Magic objectively, but you look at his resume, dude just won.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with Michigan State all the way through, he just won. Now, the one thing I do like about the Magic discourse is what we've said before is he's point guard number one. Like when
Mm-hmm.
you're filling out your roster 1 through 5, the point guard discussion, it's everybody after Magic.
Yo.
That much is, but you can put him in a conversation for being one of the all-time greats, at the big table.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. So yeah, I enjoyed that discourse because again, Magic better than you think. The 18, 9.5, 9.5 season.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
do remember, and I'm looking forward to this in winning time. When he came up short in '84, and he was tragic Johnson. Like he was, after all that stuff, was Magic that dude? And all they came back is won in '85, and then back to back '87, '88, and they drugged that team to the finals in '91. But yeah, Magic's probably better than you think.
So Magic is still 6th all time in assists, 10,141. John Stockton, Jason Kidd, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Mark Jackson, Magic Johnson. So Magic would have had to pass like Oscar Robertson
Yeah,
when he got it. Oscar had 98.87.
Magic was the first to 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then you've got a lot of guys that have played a lot more years than he did. Again, keep in mind, he only played, and that's what we don't understand either. He only really played from 79 to 81 or to 91. He only really had a 12-year career.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the what ifs, like with Ken Griffey, with all that kind of stuff. If Magic is able to prolong and get to year 14 or 15, I think we're having a different discussion. If we knew then what we know now, Magic probably would have kept playing, and the Lakers would have retooled around him.
Because with 91, he was only like 32.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have had, if you go 92, 93, 95, you're 36, then you probably kind of slow down. Father Time kicks in by then because that's like year 17 or something. But you got 91, a full 92, 93, 94, 95. That's what, 4 more years?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's averaging, 12 years basically. He got 10,000. That's like 800 a year. So give him another 3,000, probably easy. And he's up there 13, 14,000. He'd still be ahead of Jason Kidd if you're, stays healthy for 4 more seasons. He's like 13 something and still second. Stockton with his 15.8, playing all those years to get to that. But Magic could still legit be in second place if he had.
Breaking news. I don't know if you saw this. Villanova coach Jay Wright is retiring.
He is? I saw the tweet. I saw Sham say he was thinking about it. So he's going to do it. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
This is the uncoach K way to do it.
Yes.
So I mean,
retiring on a Final Four season. Wow.
Man. And he was 60 years old. Wow. I don't know how old I thought Jay Wright was. I just never thought about his age. I think I've had him younger in my mind. I don't know. He's in shape.
He was an assistant for a long time, I think. Is that, if I remember correctly? I'm going to Google this. But yeah, he's older than you think. A lot of these coaches are.
Breaking news on Cats Talk Wednesday.
Oh yeah, well, his Wikipedia page is already. He coached at Hofstra from '94 to 2001, and then from 2001 to this year, he was at Villanova. So yeah, he's 60.
What year is his first year at Villanova?
2001.
Wow. So he was 20 years at Villanova.
Yeah.
Man, goodness. Man.
Yeah. So I remember the Kyle Lowry, Scotty Reynolds
Right.
Villanova teams from I
Mm,
guess the mid 2000s. I remember that. Wow, that's that's big time news. 4 Final Fours, 2 championships. That's a pretty good career. Um, so
mm,
tip your hat to Jay Wright, right?
yeah. I wonder we don't know if who's gonna be groomed or anybody on his staff that's ready to step in, or I don't know how they gonna handle that. If they even knew it was coming, or
Who knows? But yeah, this is the way you kind of do it. I thought it was unfair of Coach K to put that kind of pressure on his kids
mm-hmm.
for a swan song, and then to tell us it should be about the kids. This is how you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do it like Jay Wright. You do it like Roy Williams.
Right, yeah.
You say, hey, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it should go.
Yep.
You don't have this award tour, get mad when other teams aren't genuflecting enough to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So college basketball is going to look different. No
Wow.
Jay Wright, no Coach K. And so I want to say that with Jay Wright leaving, you don't have that many active coaches with championships. There's maybe like 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm. And the multiple championships just went down a whole lot because we got Self, K is gone, Wright is gone, Roy is gone. Everybody else just got one that's active.
I believe Self is the only multiple winner
Wow.
that's still coaching.
Yeah, because 2 just lost K and Wright.
Yeah. That's
Mm.
next year when Cal gets his second.
That's it. He moves to a different table. He moves to the other table. Get to the
Move
2
to that
title table.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be.
Because look, understand the folks when they talk about Coach K, college basketball is changing because different coaches. College basketball has lost legendary coaches before,
Mm-hmm.
bigger than life personalities. And college basketball keeps moving on. It changes, but it keeps moving.
It didn't stop when Bobby Knight finally got fired. It didn't stop. It
The,
just kept
the,
on going.
the difference to me is there aren't as many fun coaches. There's no Tark the Shark. I'm not talking about his infractions, but there's no Tark the Shark. There's no animated guys like John Chaney. There's no guys wearing ridiculous jackets and there's none of that.
Wimp Sanderson, yeah,
No
dude.
there's no Dale Brown person. There's none of that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With college basketball, that's what it's missing is a coach with a personality.
Mm-hmm. Because with the NASCAR route, as far as that goes, because you had dudes fighting, and the NASCAR good old boys was just acting a fool, and now they're all corporate. And you had Lou Carnesecca, Rolly Massimino, personality, man. You're right.
I've never been a Big East guy, but that conference was fun.
Yeah.
It's before Jim Boeheim became a curmudgeon.
Right.
And it was way back in you could tell the coaches didn't like each other. Bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
Where coaches openly disliked each other. I was never a fan of Rick and Cal pretending like they got along. Don't fool me. I'm not dumb. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Like I know y'all don't get along. That's why I like that beef that Secret Base did on the YouTube talking about with Bradley McKee showing up all over the place in the background. But look, man, I like coaches that don't like each other. Give me that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, and that's what's missing anymore. Like, I look back and I laugh. John Chady, I'm going to kill you. That to me is hilarious.
And he would have put his, he would have put his hands on Cal quick too. He was,
But we've got great coaches, but they got no personality.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could put Bruce Pearl on that list, but to me, it just seems like he's doing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
For and talking to Iowa folks, because you remember he was assistant coach at Iowa when he got in trouble with the NCAA and was sent off to the hinterlands. A lot of the Iowa folks are like, yeah, not big Bruce Pearl fans.
Wow. He was ratting on who's he squealing?
Illinois. He tried to get Illinois in trouble, and it was a whole big thing. And he got sent off to the hinterlands. And I don't know how genuine it is, but I just miss coaches with personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just even like, you don't see anybody chewing on towel. You don't see big, with the like
Big John, yeah, tart.
It's not like it used to be in that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my whole thing is things change. It's not supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about, earlier, Field of Dreams. Like, look, man, it's okay to look back sometimes, but things just change.
Yeah.
That's the nature of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I can look back and say, man, wasn't it fun when I used to come home and watch videos on MTV, and that day it ain't coming back, man.
Nope.
And I'm always listening on my Apple Music to the 90. I'm listening from 94 to 99. These different playlists. That's my sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But it ain't going back to that, man.
No.
And some of that stuff is really good. Just like you and I talk about that, we're not going to see anybody big like Michael Jackson. Like, nobody's going to reach that pinnacle again. Probably for the best. So things change.
People can be crazy big and we don't even know about it.
And
I mean, not to his level, but I mean, it's just killing on TikTok, killing on this or that, and I don't really know who that is. Like, this.
You're gonna find this out. Your kid's gonna say to you about somebody, you're gonna be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Lil Miss sent me a text last week, a couple weeks ago, about Harry Styles. You probably don't know who Harry Styles is. He was in One Direction. You probably don't know who One Direction is. But anyway,
I heard of the name of both, but I can't tell you a song by either one of them.
She sent me an all caps text. You need to go check out the new Harry Styles song. So as a good father, I was like, all right, I'm gonna check this out. So I Googled it and I watched the video and I was like, well, that's a song. That's a song. But she loves it, and it's got like 1 billion views. Like, it's already the number one song in the country. But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
When it comes to music, I don't know. Because they be talking about these rappers and these people. He's been rapping for 10 years. I'm like, I don't know who this person is.
Yeah, like this, like Moneybag Yo. I'm like, who's that? All these people. Oh,
I don't know. I know Jay-Z.
Let's see.
Like, and that reminds me too. I don't know if you saw this tweet. It was talking about the most important album in rap history.
Uh-huh.
And all these kids, I'm gonna call them kids. Well, Kanye did this and Kendrick did this. I said, no. I said, no. The most important has got to be something. Y'all, when these kids see, I'm sounding like an old man on here tonight. But when these came up, rap was a thing. When you and I were coming up, rap was still that stuff that was like, y'all keep that over there. That ain't real music.
Yep.
My suggestion was Run DMC's Raising Hell. It was the first rap album to go platinum. And my position was, it was the first one with Walk This Way to have that crossover appeal.
Mm-hmm.
It got airplay on MTV. It
Mm-hmm.
really ushered in, because then after Raising Hell in '86, you get, LL Cool J, I'm Bad. You get a lot of these people on TV. And then a few years later, you get the Grammy Award. 5 years later, they finally have the rap Grammy, even though they didn't give it at the award ceremony. It becomes a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm saying important, I'm not even saying that the Chronic was the most important. Like it's on that list of influential. I put important to make rap a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to go with something before 1990.
There was stuff paving the way for the Chronic. So as far as that goes,
right. And the MC Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to put MC Hammer, Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him,
Mm-hmm.
on that list of important.
Mm-hmm.
The album, musically, not great. Hammer has never been the strongest rapper.
Yeah.
But everything he brought to the table absolutely changed the game. Hammer was the first rap artist to sell out arenas,
Mm-hmm.
to play arenas, to play big venues.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say because he was soft and all this kind of stuff, I guess. But after NWA, after they wasn't letting rap artists in a lot of these venues. But Hammer opened that door, let a lot of people open up for him. So when you're saying important, it can't be something that came out 5 years ago.
No.
Like it just can't be.
Mm-hmm.
And we can make fun of the simple rhyme scheme that they used in the 80s, hippity hoppity,
Yeah.
But
gotta start somewhere.
That was stuff we had never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm when talk about rap albums, I know I've told this story before, how I listened to NWA's F the Police. Yeah, for folks that don't know, my dad is assistant chief of police for the city of Louisville. And for some reason, I thought it was a good idea to play F the Police on my cassette tape, my boombox in my room one day. And so I'm listening to it. My dad comes home from work in full uniform, and there's just a rapping. And he stops, and he's like, that's a lot of profanity. And I'm trying to turn it off before it gets to the chorus, because I'm like, this is not going to work out well. So I'm fumbling. You can't do stuff when you're nervous. Yeah. And the chorus come on, F the Police. And I'm like, I'll turn this off. My dad's like, no, let it play. And I'm like, oh.
It's point of no return now.
It's like that Snickers commercial, want to get away. I mean, I was just like, F the Police. And it plays, and he caught it, and I'm like, this song is going on forever.
Oh.
So he finally stops it. He said, what's that about? I said, well, you have to understand about where they're coming from, and this, that, and the other. And so my dad then took me on a tour around the house and showed me that everything that the police money had provided for us, the roof, the refrigerator, the clothes, like we had a discussion. And I was like, well, not all police, what I'm saying? Yeah. That was yeah.
Just wish you could have that couple seconds back before he got home.
Man, I don't know what I was thinking. That's why I tell people I was dumb as hell as a kid. Who plays after? And my dad was that dude. What am I doing? I don't know. But 11, 12-year-old TB, I had no sense. I'm like,
was Mama B home?
Mama B was. I think she was cooking dinner, and I was in my room. I had it low. Okay, I wasn't blasting it because I'm not that brazen. But I'm in my room. My dad comes in. Hey. And in his face, I was like,
oh boy.
Oh, man. But again, I tell the kids, Run DMC, those guys, that was the foundation rap was built on. You're still not going to find more than 5 or 4 MCs, 4 or 5 MCs better than Rakim. Like that's just, you're just not. I don't know about your little yo-yos and your this and your that. I remember when rap became a thing. And so I think the discourse with rap and hip hop is people of our generation remember when rap was on the outside.
Right.
And we were there during that process when it became quote unquote legitimate. So we take a little bit more ownership. It's like our parents' generation talking about good R&B.
Yeah.
You know, I'm listening to Keith Sweat, and my mom's like, no, that's not good R&B. You got to turn on this Al Green. Which again, by the way, my mom went to school with a dude that helped co-write Love and Happiness that I just found out about.
In Memphis, in Cordova?
Yeah, she went to school. His name is Teenie Hodges, and there was a family of Hodges, and they played in Al Green's band in the 70s. In the film The Firm, which is set in Memphis, there's a scene Tom Cruise goes to a bar, whatnot. The band's playing, and mom's friend Teenie Hodges is in that band because she loved that movie. She's like Teenie Hodges, and we had it on VHS because it would go to the credits and it would say Teenie Hodges. And so I think he passed away or something. I don't know what I was looking up, and I was like, Teenie Hodges. You know how you go those Wikipedia kind of rabbit holes, and I was like, Teenie Hodges, and he's listed as a co-writer for Love and Happiness. And I said to Mom B, she's like, oh yeah, we know. Like, what? But the crazy thing is,
tell me nothing.
some kind of way he married Drake's aunt. Like Drake, started at the bottom. Drake. He's Drake's uncle.
Aubrey's uncle.
Wow. Yeah. Teenie Hodges. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm telling the girls about it, and they're like, who's Al Green? Okay. He's in a movie, with Tom Cruise. Well, who's Tom Cruise? All right. He's Drake's uncle. Click, clack, click, clack.
How you speaking that language?
Call up Mama B. You went to school with Drake's uncle? And Mama's like, he wasn't Drake's uncle when we went to school. This is 60 years ago,
That resonated though.
Yeah, Drake. Oh, click. Yeah, so they knew Drake. But I'm just protective of rap because these young kids, and more power to the mumble rappers, and Kendrick is doing stuff. More power to you, but that's why the Super Bowl halftime show, that's in my wheelhouse. I will jam that all day long.
That's it.
But I still won't listen to F the Police.
That's right. Well, lesson learned, man.
It brings back bad memories. I'm like, oh
yeah. That's one of them tough 12-year-old lessons, boy.
It still gives me PTSD, but
we all got them.
Another great show, man.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you. Thanks to Jesse Riffe for hopping on. Got the Oscar news, got the Jay Wright news. Y'all check out BBN Tonight for the interview that Jesse's producing. Y'all check us out here in about an hour on The Locker with Anthony White. Michelle and already tweeted. She's going to, of course, check this out and catch us over there as well because that's how she rolls.
Yeah. And, just real quick, Kyle Tucker did tweet out the list of active coaches who won a national title. Bill Self, Rick Pitino, Cal, Scott Drew, Tony Bennett, Jim Boeheim, Tom Izzo.
So Rick got 2. Rick and Self, I left him out. Those only dudes with 2 active. Wow.
Yeah, so that's only 7 active coaches with championships. It's hard to do, folks. Hard to do, but
landscape is changing, boy. Wow. Well, we appreciate everybody, man. Appreciate you, TB, and like you said, it's not as much going on now. We still come together every week and
absolutely
bring content. And we somehow did it during the pandemic when even less is going on than there is now. I'm still did it every week and trying to do it again. So we'll be back.
I don't know how we did it when there was no sports to talk about. We had a sports show. We never missed a beat, but
I don't remember.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Because I was thinking like you. I'm like, it's kind of tough this week to get something. I'm like, well, we did this through the pandemic somehow, and it was less than there was less then than there is now. So I know we'll have something. And we did.
It's like when you have little kids and you think, how am I getting through the teeth and all this kind of stuff? And you look back, you're like, we did it.
Did it. That's it. You're right. So, man, appreciate everybody. Check us out follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Got our Twitter handles here on the screen. Appreciate everybody that watches on Roku, BS3 Network. Appreciate Ben Sutter. Gonna hit this outro, and then, like I said, we're gonna chop it up on the locker in about an hour. Appreciate everybody for watching.